Hey, man. Whoa! Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard Gene the Fishing Machine here. Currently, the surface temperature is at 86 on top, and it's early in the morning. It's going to get up to around 88 on top. Recently, we've been having a heck of a heat wave. In fact, right now, it's 80 degrees here a little bit before 8 o'clock in the morning. It's hot. So today, I'm just going to be fishing vertical jigging under a bridge. I'm going to stay out of the heat, I'm going to stay comfortable, and I'm going to fish slow and deliberate. All right, let's talk about tackle today. Now, I'm going to start off with a Fago 1000 size reel. Really small reel, small, compact, has a great drag system on it. I love the Iowa reels, folks. I'm just getting to where I think that they're probably, I'm not going to say they're the best, but for the price and as long as they last, they're doggone good reels. Now, that's just an opinion. Remember, everything I say is just an opinion, folks. I'm going to use 2-pound test vicious line, a 7-foot Canyon Creek ultralight rod, real limber rod right here. And the next thing I'm going to do is use a tiny hair jig. This is probably a 1/32, may not be quite that heavy, sharp truce hand-tied jig, and it has a number 8 sickle hook in it. And I'm just using a Palomar knot. I rarely use a loop knot on 2-pound test line because there's no telling what you could hook. Now I'm going to start fishing this break line. And there he is. There's the first fish of the day. Small crappie. Now I'm going to tell you what. That's a little black crappie. That fish was about a foot from the bottom in about 20 feet of water. So this fish was 19 feet deep on that break line. Nothing to write home to mommy about, but it is a fish. There could be some big fish there. We don't know yet. That was the first presentation, and there's the first crappie. Now, the reason that fish was not suspended is for this reason alone. They're not pulling water. There's absolutely no current at all. The water's been backed up account of we've had quite a bit of rain. When that happens, I guarantee you on the Tennessee River, those fish will be on the bottom. They'll be on the bottom. Okay, my jig's on the bottom. I'm going to lift it up. It's about a foot off the bottom right now. I'm just going to sort of hold it in place and let the jig fall back to me. Real slow. The water is extremely hot, folks, so we don't need a lot of action. There's a fish. Wow. Not a very big one, folks, but for his size, he's fighting. And this limber tackle I have. Let's see if we can flip him on in here. A little black crappie. Come on back here. Sharp truce with a red head. Now, quit. I've mentioned this before. Size is more important to me when it comes to a jig than color. Most of the time. That's a little black crappie. He's fat right there. They're eating a lot of shad, about that long, anywhere from a ½ inch to around 3/4 of an inch long. Baby shad. And there's a lot of them in here. There he goes. Now, see, he just spit up one right there. Little bitty shad. If y'all can see that. But I could use white. I could use, let's see, white. Right now, I believe they would hit pink because the water's not real clear right now. Let's see, white, pink, something with a little bit of purple in it. But the main thing right now, I think, is small, because when crappie are not active, I believe they prefer a small jig. Okay, let's see if we can catch one right here. Just letting it fall back to me really slow. And then every once in a while, I'll put a little bit of action like that. But I'm holding it, the main thing is I'm holding it at the correct depth. Around 19 feet, 18, 19 feet is where they're at now. Now that's subject to change. Let's say if all of a sudden we had a thunderstorm and it got dark and overcast, even though, let's say if it was in the middle of the day, folks, those crappie will come up in the water column. There we go. That was a pretty good thump. Fighting little son of a guns. Come on back here. Getting a little bit bigger. That fish is just a little bit bigger, I believe. Quit. Stop it. Now, just because I want to state this fact too, I have sit in areas like this and start catching a lot of small fish like this. Then all of a sudden, a school of big fish will move in. Now that happens a lot of times out here. Watch him right here. I love that. Now this particular jig right here, let me mention this too. I like tinsel on my jigs. This has got it. Let me separate it right here. See that tinsel? There's just one tinsel in that marabou jig. There it is. There's the tinsel. And that's enough to give this bait a little bit of a shine, a little bit of glisten. Very important. Jigs are, it's extremely important to have the right combination on any jig. But if y'all look, y'all see that? That shine, that glimmer, oh my goodness. Plus, with the added fact that that marabou is flowing like that, hey, that's deadly, deadly, deadly. Now, when this color right here, when it gets to the point where they won't hit this color, what I'll do is select another hand-tied jig, but a different color. That way you can keep them biting, because there's a lot of fish down here, folks. It's I don't know about big ones, but there's a lot of crappie right here right now. Maybe just a little action like that and then let it fall back. But I am keeping it at 19 feet. Or very close to that. And that's the key, which I've mentioned a lot of times. Finding how deep they're biting and keeping that jig at that depth. Uh-oh. I just had one bit it. Barely bump it. Alright, let's catch that fish. I'm going to be more aggressive with my approach. I know there's a fish right there. He bumped it, but he didn't commit. Now watch this, folks. Now come on, boy. There he is. See, I reflexed that fish to bite. He ain't very big, folks, but it don't matter. If they were big, it'd be the same difference right there. Same difference. I'll explain that to you right here, exactly what I'm talking about. And it works. It works every time, just nearly. Pert near. Quit. But the main thing right here is how to trigger a bite when they're not wanting to eat. It's that, period. It's just that way, period. Let's let him go. Alright folks, I'm going to try my best to explain to you what I do or what works for me for crappie when they really don't want to eat. Now to start off with, I started catching those fish in 19 feet of water. They're still in 19 feet of water. But what has happened, it's getting later in the day. The crappie are still using this brake line, but they're nipping now. And that's a term that I've used a lot of times. You can feel them, they'll just, but they won't. What they're doing is they're nipping the back of this jig. They really don't want it. So, and what I'll do is keep that jig at that depth, jerk it up real quick, just real quick. Now my jerk up, I'll move the bait maybe 18 inches up. Then when this jig free falls back to the crappie, what it does, it creates a reflexive action type strike. They really don't want it, but instinctively they'll grab it. Kind of like this, and I've explained this before too. I'm really concentrating right now, so that's why I'm having a hard time explaining exactly what I mean. But if I were to take a ball, if you were in front of me and I took a ball and I was talking to you, and we was having a conversation, all of a sudden I throw it to you, reflexively you're going to at least catch that ball, or you'll throw your hand up without thinking to deflect it or whatever. It's the same thing. Same thing. Let's catch another one. There he is. There him is. I tell you, I don't know. I've done caught several of these crappie, and I don't know if they're any bigger than this right here. This seems to be the average size right here, folks. Pretty small. Pretty small. But still, quit. We're catching fish, we're having fun, and we're under the shade. It's hot. Woo! There he is, pretty little black crappie. Now he'll be, my goodness, twice that big. Next year, he'll be twice that big. But this little chartreuse, you know, another thing I'm going to say is, this is an old color. The jig head is red and it's chartreuse. That is a very, very old color, and it still works today. Chartreuse is a very visible color to crappie in all water clarities, excuse me. There we go. I come on over here to the other side of the bridge, and I'm fishing the same situation, folks. Come on in here. Same deal. That's a little bit better fish right there. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Fishing the same way, basically. Quit. Doggone thing. And that looks like that's going to be the size of our crappie today. It really does. I've caught a bunch of them, and they're all ranging about that size, that crappie fish. But if nothing else, it's good practice. But I'm just doing basically the same thing. I'm casting to where the drop off is. And in this case, on this side of the bridge, it's going to be around 12 feet of water. 12 feet of water right there. When it reaches the bottom, which it has, I'm going to just let it fall back to me. But this time I'm going to let it fall a little more abruptly. I'm just hoping to catch a fish on that break line. If I do, it could be a bigger fish, but I'm letting it fade on out to around 19 and 20 feet. It's the same thing. This 2-pound test line is enabling me to fish this jig a lot more effectively because it's so small. So small. Somehow or another, I can't help from not believing that this is a blessing. I mean, this is a blessing. Well, folks, I'm going to let it go. Now, as far as today's fishing, I caught, I don't know how many crappie, but they were basically the same size. They were real small. But the main thing that I wanted to show today was how to trigger these type of bites. Let me explain something in specific. Here it is. Let's lay it down on the line. When the water temperature is this hot, right now it's 88 on top. Dog days of summer. When it's this hot, crappie primarily feed more actively at night. And that's not just an opinion, that's a fact. So, if you're wanting to target these fish in the daytime, for the simple reason you're not a night fisherman, if you're getting nips like that, that's what I call it, nipping bites, try that. Just a quick upward movement, real quick upward movement, and let the jig fall back to them. They'll respond. I want to say God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for the great comments, everything y'all do for this channel. I appreciate it. Hey, man, I'm talking about don't, I'll tear it up. Hey, run that bird. Go fishing when you can, because it's good for you.